So this next one,
method of discipline.
yeah.
Okay.
What was your method of discipline? Did you spank your child? Did you find something else that was effective? Well, I'm going to divide this into three ages because something different each time. When they were very young and they spilled the milk on the table 2 or 3 times, maybe in one meal, nothing happened. We would try and get them to help us clean up, but they didn't do it on purpose. However, as the child was a little bit older, tiny bit older, and they were asked not to do something or to do something, and then we even had them look us in the eye and repeat what we'd asked them to do, and they still stepped over the line, that offense would probably work into a spanking. But not in anger, but it was like we wanted them to learn obedience. And that was hard. As they got a little older, I knew when spanking was no longer effective. I'll never forget, David and Tanya quite often had, this is before Stacy came into our lives, had little squabbles, a lot of squabbles, difficult squabbles. And sometimes they
Sister.
Yeah, they knew where to push their buttons. Well, Tanya was out this one day, and I don't know whether David just wanted to do something to make her mad or whatever, but anyway, he went into her room and took her Rubik's Cube that was perfect on all sides and scrambled it up. And he just knew that would really get Tanya worked up. So when I noticed that her room had the door was open and I noticed this Rubik's Cube, I said, got the wooden spoon, and I was going to
The dreaded wooden spoon.
And I was going to administer the discipline because Dave wasn't home yet, and I just wanted to get that out of the way. So as I was getting the wooden spoon, David starts running, and so I chased after him.
This is in the backyard now.
On Como Lake Avenue. And I was in my house coat, and I was running after him, and I fell. And my disobedient son came back to help me up. And that's when I knew, you know what? This time of physical discipline is over. He could have taken me out, and that would be horrible, but instead, he said he was sorry. And that's what I loved about David, was he always had a soft heart towards the things that he knew were right. And when Tanya got home, he had to face her, and that was the end. Nobody talked about it again. As they got older, grounding worked, I think. My example for this is Tanya's life was the youth group. She just absolutely lived for Friday night youth. Saturday she'd probably plan a pool party at our house, and Sunday she'd be with her friends again. And she loved it, and she had a lot of really good friends. Her offense was that she was a different person sometimes at home, and she would mouth me off, and she would also, her attitude just stunk sometimes. So one time, Dave was in the kitchen and heard her say something that wasn't right towards me, and he called her on it. He said, Tanya, just want you to know, your attitude is not acceptable, and we're going to ground you from youth Friday night. And you would have thought, by her anger back at us, that we had going to kill her. She was so mad. You're going to ground me from youth group? Church? And she was just so angry. And so we knew that we had touched where it would do the most good. And so that was worthwhile.
It's true.
It's true.
It's all true. So the question again is, what's the hardest part of disciplining your kids? I'm going to ask you young parents this. How do you feel when, first of all, I'll preface this by saying that us 6 Buzza kids were growing up with spankings. And I think it worked on us. And the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. So Carol and I believed in spanking. But my question to you young parents is this: how do you look your little child in the eye, this creature that God has blessed you with, that you love and adore, and as a dad that your job is to protect? how do you hit that child? And that, to me, was the hardest part of disciplining children. I just, so needless to say, spanking didn't go on very long for our kids in our family. Instead, we progressed to stern words, which usually worked. As the kids got older into their teens, sometimes we had to ground them or withdraw privileges, like not letting them have the car on a Friday night, something like that. So that's how we disciplined our kids.